you so much for joining us, and welcome to Getting to the Top, a podcast about leadership and transformational leadership, and how, as a globe, if we can get more diverse leaders in place, we can get better outcomes. And the data just proves that. And so it is about helping people to see different types of leaders in different lights, in different industries, who are at the C-suite level and how they've gotten there, in hopes of inspiring you on your transformational leadership journey, and realizing that there aren't any barriers to leaders. It is just about us wanting to be, to take up the mantle and to be willing to serve in that capacity and taking part in that bigger opportunity to make the world a better place for all of us. So today I am delighted to be speaking to Giselle Thompson, and I will ask her to start by introducing herself and her current role. Giselle, I've been so impressed by your various incarnations and your career. So it's really nice to be talking to you about what you're doing now and how you've gotten to this place in your career.
Racquel, really, pleasure is mine. I'm really looking forward to the chat, and honored to be sharing a bit of my perspectives on leadership and lots of learnings that I've had, along the way throughout my career. I always like to start first, with my authentic self. Who am I is not my job title, but who am I is, first a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a mother to 3 amazing girls. And that's, that's my authentic self. And that's what makes me who I am and what I bring, I guess, to my role and to my career. In terms of my job now, I'm currently Vice President for Corporate Operations at BP in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a role that I thoroughly enjoy, and it's been a 16-year-long career in learning the energy sector, and in trying to transform the way we operate and the way we relate to, places like Trinidad and Tobago, where a big multinational like BP operates. So it's been quite the journey, quite exciting, lots of challenges along the way. And I've met a lot of great people along the way that have helped me to succeed.
Wonderful. And so, the oil and gas industry is primarily dominated by men globally. And so, it would have been challenging in that getting to the ranks in that industry. So how was that for you? What was that path like for you? Where did you start? What was the first role? And then how did you work your way up?
Yeah. I actually, I started, I entered in an interesting role called, I was a brand manager, and you'd think, well, brand for an oil and gas company, but what are you selling, because we don't sell products directly to consumers. But it was at a point in time where BP recognized that, reputation and how it showed up is really important, and the brand BP and what it means for the country. So I started in that position and, made my way up to my current role now. And it was very daunting in the early days, navigating a very large multinational in a sector, as you said, dominated by men. And, many of the times I might have been the only female in the room. And not only that, I was pretty young in my career. So, I also, felt the insecurities of not just my gender, but my age, and would people take me seriously? Would they think I have something to contribute to a conversation? So it was daunting at times, but I would say that I was lucky to have worked for lots of incredible men who saw potential, and I think maybe did not see gender as much, and really gave me the opportunities, pushed me, challenged me to grow, and to be where I am today.
So how did you have the confidence? You're in a room, you're the only woman, you're a young woman. How did you have the confidence to then decide, what, I'm going to speak up. I have a different perspective. I have an opinion about something that's being discussed here, and I want to make it known, but I'm nervous because I look very different from everybody else in the room.
Yeah. And I would say, I think that confidence came with time and with feeling and with understanding the business. So for me, from my very early stages in my career there, I knew I didn't understand anything about oil and gas, development and production, but I made it my business to go find out, go understand, go and sit with our engineers, go and learn the business so that I could speak confidently, to the issues of the business. And it took time, I would say, for me to find my voice and to build that confidence. And sometimes we sit there and think, oh, and I need to say, put this across in the most perfect way. And you know what? You learned over time, no, it is about just be authentic. Just say what you have to say, you know, with respect. And I think over time, yes, people got to know you, got to understand you, and got to seek out your views and opinions on things as well.
So when did you first know that you wanted to lead? Was it that you sort of sat back and said, you know what, I really want to have a leadership role in this organization? Or did you sort of just sort of bounce from role to role and realize, wait a minute, I'm climbing this ladder and I might as well continue? How was it for you?
I would say pretty early in my time at BP, you know, the opportunity to sit at the leadership table came my way. And I wish I could say my story was different from most other women out there, but it's not. You know, my story was one of first, I can't do this job. Can I really do this job? You know, so kind of self-doubt. You know, at the time when, you know, my first boss who was holding the role as VP, he was moving on to another role in BP. You know, and he was the one that encouraged me, you know, throw your hat in the ring for the role. And I said, but I'm only 2 years at the company. I still have so much to learn. Not so sure. I proceeded on maternity leave with my second daughter and got a call, you know, from the then CEO. I was still on maternity leave. You know, I want to see you, you know, came into the office for him to kind of put the job in front of me and say, you know, I want to give you this opportunity. Are you up for it? And at first I started talking myself out of the role because I'm like, well, you know, I have a newborn. I'm not sure I have all the experience that I need to do this job yet, you know, the usual things we say.
Yes.
And then, you know, but he was really, you can do it, you know, go home and think about it, you know, and then, you know, give me your answer. And I had a huge amount of fears, of course, right? Fears of failure, you know, can I, first of all, as a mother, you know, what am I doing to my toddler and my 2-month-old? Can I really do this job? And, you know, be a good, you know, mom to them, as well as, can I do this role? You know, I had expertise in some of the role, but not in all. And again, you know, that's where, you know, we usually have a lot of self-doubt, you know, coming in. Talking it over again, you know, with my husband, with my parents, they were like, just go for it. We're there to support you. And so I just absolutely, you know, jumped in, said, I'm going to do it. And I'll figure it out, you know. So it was a lot of figuring out, and I would say it was tough in the early days, right? Taking on a new role, leading a team, you know, a young family, you know, and this is the issue many career women face. You know, at the time when you're growing in your career, you're also growing your family, and you know those demands and balancing those sometimes are very tough and challenging. So I would say, you know, it was not a situation where I felt, yes, I'm ready, I'm up for this leadership role. It was more a situation of, I would say, you know, a wonderful leader taking a chance on me to say, I see the potential in you. I'm going to give you this role and I'm going to support you, you know, and you can do it. And it was getting over that initial self-doubt and saying, yeah, you know, I don't have all the competencies, but I'm damn well going to learn them. Yeah. And so I did, right? So, yeah, so I guess that's I wish I could say my leadership story was different. And I went in there with, you know, full self-confidence. Guns blazing.
Fully confident.
Yeah, but I think, you know, after I got over that initial feelings of, and this is the thing, most of the times the barriers in front of us are self-imposed, you know, they're self-imposed.
Yeah.
So it is understanding that I was putting barriers on myself.
Right.
So taking the dive and having the confidence to say, yeah, I may not fully understand how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I have support systems. I have people who are, you know, willing to help. And I'm going to give this my all. And yeah, so it's great to be able to look back in hindsight and say, I almost talked myself out of a job, right?
Yes.
C-suite job, but it's been a great learning experience. It was not easy, but it has been a great experience.
No, but that's really such a good point, yeah, because a lot of the barriers that we perceive are self-imposed, and it's so important that at a minimum, because there are real barriers as well. And
Yes.
so we don't need to impose any additional barriers on ourselves because there are enough barriers imposed. So we absolutely need to jump at the opportunities as they present themselves. I think women oftentimes feel the need to be over prepared and you know, we set such a high bar for ourselves, as does society, by the way. But it's so great for you to, you know, you consulted your core, your circle, you talk to the husband, you talk to the parents, and everybody's like, go for it. Your boss is saying, go for it. The CEO is saying, I think you can do this. And you're having to be convinced on this journey to take up this mantle. And that's, you know, I think so many rich things there, and you know, surrounding yourself with the right people, allowing others to see the potential in you and trusting that they are correct about that potential, but also the role that men play in, you know, finding talent in people who are less than traditional and not always looking to the same folks to identify the talent, but looking at up and comers and young, excited, vibrant people who have something to add to the story.
Correct. And I mean, you know, when we talk about women in leadership, right? I'm absolutely such a supporter of, you know, allyship and men as allies, because women are not going to continue progressing if men are not allies in that process. And I've been lucky that in various forms and different leaders that I've had, they have been strong allies to me. You know, they've always pushed, challenged, supported, coached, you know, true examples of what allyship looks like, but we need more of it.
Yes.
We absolutely need more of it.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, and a lot of times society tries to convince you that women don't support women. And I've had tremendous support from women as well. And I think that's, you know, the same way they say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to make a leader. You know, all of the people, you know, who support you at home, or your friends, your circle, the people who you cry to when things aren't going well, the people who pull you up, the people who, you know, crowd around you, and the people who help you on that journey and see the potential that you don't always see in yourself. So I think great. You mentioned, you know, this role came about right as you'd had your second child, and you were wondering whether you could do it as well as be a parent to this newborn as well as this toddler. You know, what was that mommy guilt like? Because I know I've suffered from tremendous mommy guilt, you know, when I have to travel, or, you know, wanting to be the perfect mother while also wanting, you know, having to lead and having leadership, having responsibilities associated with it that aren't always in line with being the perfect mommy.
Yeah, and it, you know, the mom guilt never goes away, right? Ever. Especially in those early years, you know, you just want to be the best mom you can be, and, you know, have as much time as you can with your kids. And, you know, there are moments in time where you really feel like I'm failing at that, right? But, you know, I think you just have to do your best. You know, there are times where the job will demand more of your time and you need to give it. And there are times when the kids will demand, and you have to just let go of that. You can never be 100% for everyone all the time. But it's knowing when, you know, how to make that balance and make it work. And, you know, knowing when the scale is tipped, you know, a little bit in the wrong direction. And I think what is helpful, and I mean, I saw this in one of your last podcast series, is part of what I think makes us successful mothers and women is, you know, again, choosing the right partners and having the right partnership with your spouse.
Yes.
Because certainly I could not do it without the support that I have from my husband, and he really is an equal partner in parenting. And that really matters, right? As well, in how you're able to, you know, do what I do, or what we're able to do what we do. But yeah, the mom guilt, I think it never goes away. But you know, there are pros and there are cons, you know.
Of course.
There are pros and there are cons, because I think, I mean, I have 3 girls, you know, they're all in their teens, but I look at them now and say, you know, they're really independent kids, because I wasn't there hovering over them every day all the time. You know, they had to kind of learn to do for themselves. And So it's great. I look back and say, well, that's some of the advantages of, being a corporate and a working mother is the kids learn that independence from very early. So
yeah, and that self-sufficiency, and I'm sure they are incredibly proud of you, and you cause them to aspire to greater things.
Yes, yeah.
Good, that's good. So what did your parents think you would become?
I don't know, they never, and I give my parents this, they were always about, this is your life and you make your choices and we're here to support and coach. And so my parents were never like, you need to do X or you need to do Y or you need to be a lawyer or an accountant or, so they were really about, you need to own your decisions and your path in life. And, you have our support. So, I mean, I did a business degree that could take you anywhere.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I'm right out of university. I started working in the pharmaceutical industry and doing marketing and communications and, went from there to where I am now, which is, quite more broad and diverse. But yeah, I don't think they ever had a strong sort of opinion on what I should be, other than follow what makes you happy.
Well, that's always great advice, and certainly, advice I give my two girls. So what is your favorite part of your job? What do you love most about it?
I guess two things. Well, actually, it's broadly one thing. I love, I guess, my role in BP. We're responsible for overseeing how the company relates to the country.
Mm-hmm.
That whether that's through our corporate responsibility, our sustainability programs, how we relate to stakeholders and community governments, civil society groups. That's a big part of what I do. And, I'm very passionate about environmental, social governance issues. I've been a practitioner in that space for a long time. And it gives me a lot of passion because I get to see how a corporate can do good, can support the growth and the development of a society, of a community. And I'm really proud of that. It's something that I get a lot of energy from and a lot of purpose from.
That's good.
And I guess in recent times, one of the roles that I've also taken on is sort of our senior leadership champion for all of our NetZero strategy delivery in Trinidad. So how, BP is on this journey to become a net zero company by 2050 or sooner, and to also have the world get to net zero. And how we implement that here in Trinidad, I'm really, really excited to be supporting and leading that here. Because I fundamentally believe that, okay, as an energy company, we can't just be part of the problem, we need to be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
We need to bring our resources to bear on that. We need to draw on a lot of the learnings, draw on the talent that we have in the organization, and, to bring that here and make a difference in Trinidad and Tobago. And, addressing issues of climate change is not just for the UK or the US or European markets, but it's important for us here as well, right? I mean, that's,
of course,
I know what you eat, live and sleep every day in your house. So, yeah.
Yes. And, it's a thing that wakes me up in the morning. So it's really important that we have a lot of diversity in that conversation as well. And what we're seeing is that the countries that have more female leaders at the government level are having better climate results and better climate delivery on their climate action. And so, that's why we know that more diversity in leadership leads to better results on all kinds of fronts. And it's really important that we have as many different voices on that conversation. So then what is the most challenging part of your job?
Most challenging part? Oh. That's hard. I guess it's just keeping all the balls in the air. Because it's just, at times I'm pretty much providing a service to the business and to, the teams who are delivering our projects and our operations. And many times that's a lot of just troubleshooting and managing issues with stakeholders and So, you can't wake up in the morning and say, this is my day. You think this is your
Because
day.
because you know what, I have something else in mind for you. Just I have a whole nother plan.
Correct, because it's been, lots of things that come in sideways. And
Yeah.
so it's, it is I suppose, managing, the longer term, big strategic things that you want to keep moving forward while you're also having to deal with the pressing and the urgent. And of course, navigating through COVID and helping the business operate in a COVID environment has been one of those really big challenges, right? It's taken a lot of effort and man hours to keep people safe and to keep the operations running. And, the challenges are just really the diversity of issues you face on a day-to-day basis and making sure those are being well managed, while at the same time not keeping your eye on, taking your eye off of the bigger things that you're working on, want to get progressed. So, but it makes for a very eventful week always.
Yeah, certainly for me, I think the challenge of the day for me these days is figuring out, yes, how do we separate the important from the urgent? Because sometimes the urgent stuff isn't necessarily the most important thing. Exactly. And, if you only chase down the urgent, then you can't focus on the important things. And how do you carve out time to make sure that you are addressing the important, big, long-term things like, net zero, while dealing with the things that aren't going to just sort of sit quietly and say, oh, it's okay, you're having a busy day, I'll wait over here and be quiet, you don't worry about me, I won't light on fire today because it's not a convenient time for you. And that just never ever happens. And so I think that's a big part of the challenge that I'm contending with. So a lot of what I want leaders to learn from this is how transformation happens. And when you're talking about an organization like BP pursuing net zero, I think that represents a huge transformation for that industry, and looking at BP as not oil and gas, but as an energy company, because I think that once you take a step back and you look at it from that perspective, you realize, listen, Blockbuster became Netflix, and these things transition, and you have to lean into that transition, otherwise you will be left behind. So I want an example of a time where you were involved or led a transformation within the industry, and what is that transformation in how BP is approaching net zero? What is that looking like from your vantage point? How are you seeing people embrace that? So it's two separate questions about transformation first, and then specifically as it relates to looking at BP through a completely different lens.
So, the transformation story I was going to give you is actually about, our journey in Trinidad, to progressing our net zero goals.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So quite interesting. So, how was that, what was my role in, I guess, that transformational leadership? I would say, to start with, while the company, announced these big goals, new CEO, new vision and direction, it was, lots to get after, but, how that then filters down to all of the operating sites across the globe, could occur pretty slowly, because as a big company, let's focus on the main areas of concern or the larger markets first, the US, the UK, where our investors want to know what are you getting after, show me your inaction to deliver these things. So the role I think I played in that was really helping us organize in Trinidad to get after it. How did we do that in an agile way? And it was interesting because that transformational journey also coincided with a time in BP when we were moving to what we call agile ways of working.
Say that again,
agile, just agile ways of working.
Oh, agile ways of working, yep.
Yeah. So I raised my hand to say, at the leadership table, this is something I would like to take on and lead. Although it's not, again, it's not something that fits comfortably in my day-to-day kind of role, but it's a great opportunity for me to learn and contribute to something that was really important for the company. And we stood up what we call a carbon squad, which is essentially a sort of cross-functional team, using agile methodologies to bring people together from across the business so we can have an integrated, strategy and plan for how we would get after delivering or lowering our emissions in Trinidad. Monitoring, measuring, reducing our methane, and getting after the goals that we set for ourselves. So it was transformational in the sense that we didn't sit back and wait on head office to say, hey, Trinidad, what's your plan? What's the goals? We sort of said, we don't want to see Trinidad we're not waiting,
Right. Or we don't want to be forgotten. Yeah.
These are our goals. We're going to get after it, So, and I think we were first out of the blocks in terms of actually, embedding that into our operations, bringing the team together, holding ideation sessions across our business, because of course the people who know and understand the business, that's where you need to get the ideas from. They see the things and know the things that could be improved upon. So harnessing all those ideas was kind of the first step, evaluating them, and then, building a plan and then a hopper of ideas that we can implement over time to reduce our emissions. So we've been on the journey for 3 years. We've over those 3 years sustainably reduced our emissions by about 30%.
Wow.
And we're not stopping in 3 years.
Amazing. That's amazing to reduce emissions by 30% in 3 years.
Yes. And still lots more to get done.
Yes.
And beyond just...
Oh, trust me, we're watching.
I know. Beyond getting our own house in order, a big part of the work, that the squad is leading is, so how do we help the country? What are the things we need to get after as Trinidad and Tobago to navigate this energy transition? Because a lot of people's initial reactions is, wow, this is a big threat to us as an oil and gas producer.
Yeah.
Are you saying, BP, you're getting out of the oil and gas business? No. But how do we help Trinidad see that there's opportunity in the transition? Don't just see it as a threat. There is opportunity in the transition as well.
Yes.
And we've been working hard, as well, advocating, using our voice as much as we can, bringing learnings and insights from other places where we operate. Looking at things like carbon capture and storage. What role does that play in helping decarbonize our gas in Trinidad and Tobago? So it's an exciting journey. For me, I think it's been transformational because it's something that we've just owned here. And I've been happy to kind of lead the team and, and helping them deliver. And there's so much energy in our, teams, in our Trinidadians to get after this because they see how important it is to our country. And that it has been transformational from the sense of, again, being proactive in the space, creating a model here in Trinidad that other places in BP want to adopt for how we've organized to deliver these goals.
Yeah.
Using agile methods in how we work as a team, because this is no one's day job. Everyone else has, we have day jobs, but we still come together as a squad to deliver these activities. So for me, that's been really rewarding. And, I think we're now starting our journey. There's just so much more to do. Not enough hours in a day to do it.
There's never enough hours. I've read something recently where it said, you're never going to get caught up. And at first I was horrified. I was like, no, but my whole way of working is I'm going to get caught up one day. And it says you are never, if you are working at your capacity, you will never be caught up. And it was both the most liberating and the saddest thing I ever heard.
Correct.
Because I just had these visions of one day like, I'm caught up. On to the next challenge. And that's just not right.
It's not happening.
Not happening at all. So please describe yourself as a leader. Are you inclusive? Are you dictatorial? Or tell me about your leadership style.
I'm so happy.
What would your team say?
Yeah. So I guess I would describe my leadership style, or certainly what I'm striving to be. And again, it's in that agile philosophy is a servant leader, right? Because which I truly believe, that my role as a leader is not to tell people what to do. We have a lot of talented, smart people.
Yeah.
It is about helping them find a purpose and see a purpose in what we're doing, setting the context, but then it's about letting them get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, coaching, supporting, providing, you know, direction and support when needed, and most importantly, removing barriers. You know, what's getting in your way and how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, remove those barriers. So it is, for me, it's about creating an environment of trust and respect. You can only do that when you genuinely care or show care for people. You know, when you know your people on a personal level, you know their goals and, you know, their dreams, and you're supporting them and delivering that. So it's not just about you're here to show up and do the work, but it's also, how can I help you achieve your own potential? How can I help you, you know, grow? This is the goal you're working towards. You know, let's make a plan. Let's see how you're going to get there. So I really see myself as someone's there to grow and support others, you know, to help others along the way. Yes, to hold people accountable as well, you know, for what they need to deliver, but also to allow them to fail fast and learn and grow.
Yeah.
And it's, I would say, a style that I've developed over time and had to become comfortable with over time. No one likes to be micromanaged. Yeah. So it's, you know, being comfortable with letting go, you know, allowing, you know, again, you're bright, smart people to get on with what they need to do, right? They don't need someone telling them what to do. So I think that's my style. And it's something that works for me. Yeah. And I think works for my team. I certainly get a lot of energy out of that. I need the personal connection. I know not everyone likes that, you know, but you know your team and you kind of understand when let's not go too far, but you just get the most out of people when they believe, you know, Giselle really cares about me and what's happening.
Yeah, and believes in me. Yeah.
And believes in me and is willing to support my development, you know, and is willing to take things on when things are getting in the way, you know. So I'm,
And it also feels like that comes from a very authentic place. And I think that's important as well, that you are being true to yourself as a leader as you go through this journey with your team, that you're not sort of playing a role of a leader that you've imagined, that you are actually, you know, authentically leading from a place of, I care about you and I want to see you achieve and I want to see you succeed. And there's a way that we can all do that together.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say I get a lot of energy and fulfillment out of co-creation. You know, I love working with the team to bring ideas to fruition, to, you know, rather than sit in a room, make up my own strategy. And then, you know, the telling and selling type of leadership is not something I really like so much. So I like, you know, when we're working together hand in hand, you know, for me, that works.
Yeah. All right. So we're now at time, but I'd love to hear from you. What's the best advice you've been given?
What's the best advice? So the best advice is that, you know, you need to get comfortable. And this is in terms of career progression, right? With being politically savvy, right? In navigating an organization, in asking for what you want, you know, in how you show up, in how your work gets seen. And that, you know, sometimes we put negative connotations to being politically savvy, but it's not unethical, immoral. No, it is really just about being smart, about knowing who you are, being confident in yourself and asking for what you want, right? And raising your hand, stretching yourself to step out of your comfort zone and take on different things. So I think that was the best bit of advice I got. In my early stages of my career, I used to sit back and think, well, my work will just, you know.
Oh my gosh. We have so many women like that. They're just so busy working and doing so well. And they're like, my work will speak for itself. I will be noticed because I have my head down and I'm doing the right thing. And not realizing, listen, you have an obligation to, that's such great advice, by the way. You have an obligation. If you have the will to serve, and you know that you have something to offer, you also have to do the work to be seen, because that's really important in your ascent into leadership. And that gives you a bigger span of control where you can help others to lead as well. You can bring along a lot of different people. You can help the organization as well as your team achieve their goals. So yeah. Oh, that's excellent advice.
Absolutely. And I think, great advice, and something I'm still working on, because there's always that voice in your head that says, gosh, I don't want to be tooting my own horn. It's not tooting your own horn. It's self-advocating, and there's nothing wrong with self-advocating. And we just need to get comfortable with that. Use your voice, be heard. So I think that was one of the best advice I got in terms of, I'd say, how we continue to grow and progress as women in our careers.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and pleasure talking to you. We will talk a lot more about VP and your net zero goals, and how you are supporting the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, and as an organization, the globe, on transitioning what we think of energy. But I love your story about being pulled and pushed and still being willing to lead, and certainly your servant leadership, and how you are co-creating and building others along with the organization. So I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Giselle. And thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you subscribe and join us next week, when we'll have another phenomenal guest who is a transformational leader that will share with us the great learnings, including that you need to be politically savvy. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Racquel.
All right. Bye.
Great. Bye.